welcome you all to the third virtual international multidisciplinary conference on current research trends 2021. That is third IMCCRT 2021. The third IMCCRT 2021 is a virtual conference which will be reaching the audience all over the world. In this testing time, International Institute of Knowledge and Care, that is IIKR, CSR First Research Consultancy, and IT Partners Virtual Technologies Private Limited decided to make the best use of digital world to reach researchers all over the world, crossing all the barriers. The participants of this conference will get a chance to interact with the researchers across the world with the latest technology and today, researchers across the globe will be presenting their research across all three different modes. That is pre-recorded video presentation that will be directly published on our Research Circle app and on our Research Circle YouTube channel. One-to-one Skype we have scheduled for the next conference, and today we'll have the group presentations, whichever participants we have with us. So today we have with us two keynote speakers actually. The other keynote speaker is joining us in shortly. So we will have a group presentation immediately after the 5 minutes break of keynote speeches. So without wasting further time, I would like to welcome our first keynote speaker for today, Dr. Ishan S. Sanil. Dr. Ishan S. Sanil is the co-founder of Research Circle mobile application. Currently, he is teaching business research, global business strategy, and organization behavior and development in Azman Hashim International Business School, Malaysia. He has a PhD in management, MBA in marketing, and BE in industrial engineering. He has more than 50 plus publications in various reputed international journals, which are indexed in well-known database like Web of Science and Scopus. Prior to joining the academic field, he worked for more than 10 years in the field of industrial engineering, re-engineering, marketing, and social and security compliance in manufacturing industry. He has been uh, organizing chair and part of editorial team in various international conferences organized in Singapore, India, Malaysia, and Indonesia. So let's welcome our first keynote speaker, Dr. Ishan S. Sani. Over to you, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Amma. Can you hear me? Am I
Yes, sir.
audible?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So, okay. I'm just trying to share my screen once again. Okay, can you all see the slides now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody, and good evening or good morning in some part of the world. First of all, thank you for the organizing team for giving me this opportunity. Giving me this opportunity to be a part of this conference. And my name is Dr. Ishan. I am actually teaching here in Azman Hashim International Business School in Malaysia. And today I will be taking a topic which is like a very short presentation, not a very detailed presentation as such. So I thought see, given the scenario now, there's no argument about COVID-19 being affecting all the different sectors. Okay. And one of the major sectors which is actually affected by this COVID-19 is the tourism sector. And we need to understand what is the way forward for the tourism sector and what are the new things which we can expect after the COVID-19 era. So my presentation titled Way Forward for Tourism Sector Post COVID-19 Era will be focusing on that. And I will also take this opportunity to brief something about our research circle, our vision, what are the things we have planned and what are the things we are going to do. So hope this few minutes, what I'm going to speak will be very useful for the audience, and also I can add value to the conference. So now, if you see the impact of tourism, what has happened? The COVID-19 has impacted the tourism. If you go by the statistics, you can see that the pandemic is expected to set the tourism sector back to $1 trillion. So this is a huge thing and a big thing which is happened and which is expected to happen, because tourism sector is a major sector for most of the uh, nations which are depending on the tourism. Why? Because it contributes to the job, it contributes to the foreign exchange, it contributes to their hospitality industry, so everything. So this is not good news for the tourism industry based on what are the things projected for the next few years. However, we don't have any other option, or we cannot avoid this, because considering the situation, tourism cannot come back on track. So if you see how the COVID-19 has crushed the whole international tourism, you can see how much of a decline is there. You can see in Africa, almost 69% of the tourism is decline. Similarly, all over the world, around 72% of the total tourism is decline. So what does this mean? This means that overall, it is a big problem for almost each and every countries. So this is just a small statistics which supports. I think we don't need a statistics as of now to get convinced that COVID-19 has affected the tourism. But what this statistic shows is how big the problem is. So now let's see what are the main things which actually is the core for rebuilding the tourism sector. So first thing what we need to do is restoring the travelers' confidence. Now, one of the main thing which is associated with the tourism sector is the confidence of the people to travel in to a particular country or a particular tourism destination. However, this particular tourism sector, when you see, this is not only due to the pandemic. If there is a country which is having some issues with terrorism or some issue with the government, the travelers are not willing to travel there. Why we go to other country? If you see in India itself, right, Kashmir is one of the top tourism, or people like to go there. It is one of the very good place for tourism, but due to the given condition, there's not much confidence of the travelers to travel to that area. So the same effect this COVID has done. So how the government and how the people can instill the confidence in travels makes a big part for the rebuilding exercise after COVID-19. Second thing is supporting tourism business to adapt and survive. So how will the tourism business will adapt to the new norms? Because we all know the norms have changed, the hygiene factors, the way the travels have been is doing, the social distancing, and way the payments and everything is changed now, the way we travel. So how the tourism business can adapt to this changing scenario? Third is promoting domestic tourism. Now, one thing good has happened because of this COVID is people are looking more inward. So they are seeing how they can promote their domestic tourism. So people, although they cannot travel abroad, they are looking at places how they can travel domestically. I'll give you an example. Recently in Malaysia itself, the international travel is not yet open on full swing, but they just opened for a brief period. Now it is lockdown again, brief period, the domestic travels. And all flights were full for the domestic travel. So many people flocking to certain international tourism, I mean the destinations like Langkawi and other places. So next is how providing clear information to the travels and business and limiting uncertainties. See, right now, if you see the simple example, if you have to travel to any country, everybody is confused whether the flights are there, whether you're allowed to travel, whether you will get the visa easily. All this confusion is there. So this has to be removed, and there should be less of confusion to the travelers. Next, evolving response measures to maintain capacity in the sector and risk gaps in the support. So how do you develop the capacity of the sector? This is mainly related to the digital technology, which I'll be talking about in the next slide as well. So how equipped are you to handle this whole scenario where you have the infrastructure, the capacity to meet the demands of the customers? Okay. Finally, strengthening the cooperations between the countries. Now, the perfect example of this is you can see the vaccine game going on everywhere, right? Right now, you have certain, like recently, if you see the European Union, they refuse to accept the Covishield vaccination from India. So there was a lot of hue and cry, but finally, I think they changed their stance. But still, you have Covaxin not approved. So similarly, they have in Malaysia. Now the EU is saying that the AstraZeneca vaccination is given in Malaysia is not accepted in EU. So this is all the game going on between the countries. So now it is a time to give up all these political goals and then come together, if at least for the tourism sector, so that we don't play these games, so that there's a cooperation between countries to help the tourism sector of both the countries. And next is building a more resilient and sustainable tourism. So how does this happen? You are ready and prepared for any of these shocks that might be due to a political situation, a pandemic situation. So if you have the protocols and systems which is more resilient, I think this is very important for rebuilding. Why these points are very important for the tourism sector? Because this is the one sector which is affected very badly by the COVID-19 and goes with a lot of sentiments among the people. And this is a sector which provides a lot of jobs to a lot of people in different countries. And this is the sector which needs to thrive if the country or the world has to come back to the previous. So what are the way forward if I have to jot down? First is there should be an integrated tourism policy between governments. So this is very important to have a standard set policy for the tourism. So, for example, even me, recently the big confusion is, even if we have to visit India, we don't know whether now the citizens of India are allowed, what is the quarantine period, what is the new norms, whether you're allowed to take your family, whether there is restriction for tourism travel, all these things. So there should be an integrated policy for tourism which can handle such situations, so that the confidence among the travelers increases and they're clear about it. Second is collaborative system across borders. As I highlighted in the previous slide, across borders, there should be a collaborative effort to support each other. Okay, so if you don't support each other in the country, either or the one or the other will lose. In the overall, if you summarize, there is a big loss for uh, all the countries, not only one specific country. Next is sector specific support are needed. So you can see a lot of stimulus packages, all these packages being released. But what we need now is, although tourism also gets a certain package, but certain tourism has to be created, looked into more into detail and given a specific package for the tourism sector itself. Finally, this is one of the very important thing which can change the whole landscape of the tourism sector. That is the digital tourism as a future of travel. So what is this digital tourism? Now, till now, we have seen we understand that it is not like you visiting physically to a certain place is a different experience as compared to the virtual visit or the virtual reality. But what we need to do is, now the whole sector has to change. They have to promote this digital tourism. So how, if I may give you an example, how does it start? Like, for example, you are planning to go for a certain country for visit. So whenever you're planning such a thing, so what you need to do is you should research. So your digital technology, or if you have the search in your mobile, you have to provide all the required information so that your customers can visit. Second is giving them an experience of real life experience by using the higher end of virtual reality, augmented reality, so that they can see the place as it is real, so that they create an intention of travel. So after you do that, the next thing is the transport that is related to your flights, your taxis, how you can support the digital innovations in this area. Like, maybe you have the real-time data on the flight routines, flight schedules. All these are things already there, but now they need to enhance so that the customer can access it more easily. And finally, the destination. Once you go to the destination, how you're going to have the information on your fingertips so that it becomes more easy for you to explore the new things. So all these will contribute for the sector to get a new look and come back to normal as compared to what it is right now. Because this digital tourism is one sector which will boom in the next few years, because there are people like who will like, especially statistics shows that in the age group people, this digital tourism has gained importance, because certain time they cannot travel. So what they do is they try to get the real life experience through this virtual tourism or augmented tourism. So these are the things which is the way forward for the tourism sector. So this is the overall things I wanted to discuss. But I also would like to take a small opportunity, this opportunity, to just give you a brief on our research circle packages, what we offer, and what is research circle all about, because you all are there with us, so you know about it, but still I would take this opportunity to give you some further details. So basically this was a creative innovation or creative work of four different companies: the CSR First, IIKR, and Research Circle is the mobile app company, I mean the mobile app itself, and Virtual Technologies. So if you see the Research Circle app, we have certain things which is very useful for a researcher's journey. So one of the thing is research library, which you will have all the relevant journal articles, maybe the learning videos or certain important workshop details or seminar details, all those things, the important information related to the research will be there in research library. However, we are just in the like initial part of our development of the app, so still it is developing. So definitely it will be uh, taking a little more time. Okay, so you can see a lot of improvement in the next few like coming days. Second is the conference and webinars. Like today, we are organizing the conference. So this conference also will be available on the Research Circle app. And you have seen now we have organized almost close to 100 different webinars. Now in this 100 different webinars, I think at least 70 to 80 of them were free workshops. So this did two things. One is it gave researchers an opportunity to actually learn about new things, and also the educators to teach something new to the people without paying much cost. So that is the reason this is one of the very good thing what has happened through Research Circle. Next is the journals, which also we will be developing further. We will be giving the Scopus list and all those things. We'll start updating. Now we are doing it. And one of the main section is Connect section. We already have some of the people in this Connect section. However, we are going to remodel this. We are going to have more educators coming into this section, and there's more things to offer in this section where you can chat faster with the educators, get to know about your research. Finally, the alerts will be more of workshops, seminars, or any other information which you need for your research journey. So if you see the outreach now, in just around more than 1 year, we have reached more than, now I think presently it's almost 8,000 downloads, and around, it has reached around 65 to 70 countries. Okay, and we are still counting. So as and when the research community grows in our app, that's the advantages for all the members in our app, because that gives you an opportunity to reach different type of researchers from different type of background, from different type of from different countries and all those things. So this is what we are achieving at, to get most many users as possible inside the app, so that they can take advantage of the connectivity. So if you see our reach in the emails, we have a lot now. It's much more than this. So it was almost 3 lakhs 300,000, but now it's much more than this. Then the contact numbers, we have more than 50,000. Then YouTube marketing, recently we have crossed the 5,000 mark of the subscribers. And we also run a lot of videos which are free workshops on our YouTube channel as well. So you can also refer to our YouTube channel. Then Research Circle app, as I told you, it's almost 8,000 now. And the Facebook promotion, we have more than 200,000 people with 4 different groups. And also we have a Facebook page dedicated for Research Circle only, which has got more than now I think it's almost close to 5,000 plus likes. So this, we just wanted to give you an idea the reach of what we have achieved in the last few months from Research Circle. So what we request all of you is collaborate with the Research Circle. So see, the collaboration doesn't mean that you need to be a university or you need to be a company or anything. You can collaborate as an individual researcher, or you can collaborate as an educator, or you can collaborate as a university. So there are various different ways we can collaborate. You can contact a team. We are always there, open. And we are a company. If you see our workshops, if you see our conferences, most of it are free, but even if it is paid, it is a very minimum fee what we charge, because for our operational charges. But we are not a group which is looking at making only money and keeping high prices. No, we are looking at having a very good community of researchers who can help each other. So what we are trying to do is, we are also trying to help the people who really need. So we are concentrating at giving some free webinars for people who cannot afford to pay, but we are trying to improve. So we all look for your support and collaborate with us for further events as well. So I request all of you to make Research Circle a part of your research journey. So you have every aspect of research covered in this app. However, it is still in the improvement process, but it will definitely go up, achieve the required standards for all of you to come into this fold. So thank you for believing in us and making us a part of your research journey. So we look more of collaboration from all of you. And this is our contact details, where this is our WhatsApp, and this is the email IDs and Facebook groups where we can reach. So this is about it. Thank you very much, Mr. Amar, for organizing this beautifully, and also the whole Research Circle team who have come together to make this possible. So many workshops and conferences, and also to all of you who are attending our workshops, and also today who have attended our conference. Hope we will be able to provide you with the required knowledge and required support, and make this whole journey of Research Circle a very successful one. Thank you very much. Back to you, Mr. Amar.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ishan sir, for this beautiful presentation. If you can allow me to share the screen, sir, please.
Yeah, I think it's already shared, right? Screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have stopped sharing, I believe.
So I hope my screen is visible to you guys. So we have with us for the next keynote session, Ambassador Dr. Fräulein D. Mobo. He is a graduate of Doctor in Public Administration from Udenta City University class of 2016. He is currently finishing his second doctorate degree, leading to PhD in development education at Central Luzon State University, Philippines. Obtaining his doctorate degree, he was promoted and designed to the position of assistant doctorate and associate professor of the Department of Research and Development in Philippines Merchant Marine Academy, and this gave him an opportunity to work with different international research institutions such as a regional doctor and PhD lecturer in Cell Academic Malaysia, lecturer in the Graduate School College of College City Pan Pacific University Executive Program. He was also appointed as the chief editor in chief in International Journal of Multidisciplinary Applied Business and Education Research Indonesia. As a researcher by heart, he is an external peer reviewer in various international research journals and has been invited as a keynote resource speaker in various international conferences abroad and international university around the globe. In 2019, he was awarded as an outstanding alumnus in the Graduate School of Udenta City University and as a multi-awarded international researcher at the present. Recently, he has appointed as the ambassador at large, country ambassador and director for the International Human Rights Movement Philippines and country head for IDYMF Foundation Philippines. At present, he is elected as a national president of Sahmak Maga Monument na Filipino and was able to publish 55 research articles within 30 citations indexed in global Google Scholar, Scopus, ISI, and cross-referred. He also published 6 international books in Europe, Indonesia, and India. So without wasting further time, I would like to invite Dr. Frelin M. Mobo.
Good afternoon. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir.
Hello. Yes. Can I share my PowerPoint?
Yeah, just a minute, sir.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Yeah, now you can share.
Okay. So once again, good afternoon. So it's my honor and privilege for me for being invited for this international conference. So my topic is about the culture in research. So just like we have mentioned by different keynote speakers, during the pandemic crisis, a lot of educators and scholars felt devastated because they think that they cannot continue with academic or scholarly work. The good thing with the research publication and the submission continues to grow eventually because this leads to researchers and scholars to write on topics relating to COVID-19 pandemic. So a lot of researchers and scholars open its door in research and development, and uh, and it's just a pandemic we're facing right now, and we need to think or innovate a new strategy in order to survive in this battlefield. So during the lockdown, they present some significant challenges for researchers, and it also gave some significant opportunities for researchers. The first involves asking how resilient organizational cultures are. There are groups of research institutions that participate in this type of situation, which is number one, the Institute of Economic Development and Social Researches and other international research groups, just like Research Circle, that gives opportunity for scholars and to facilitate its call for paper or webinars that can give an alternative mode of presentation. Also, journal publications waive the article processing fee to give way to those scholars or writers who are greatly affected with the pandemic situation So setting aside the future of universities and other research institutions, COVID has posed more immediate challenges for research colleagues around the world. So researchers have uh, quickly reoriented about their studies to meet the public health needs. And then the implementation of the new research culture using technology-based platforms like ResearchGate and Google Scholar boost the emotions of the scholars and writers to continue with their endeavor and come up with a good publishable paper that is globally readable and can be cited as many as the researchers have read it. So other publication companies offers a free publication and even researcher have read it and it can also be used for conferences for free. So generally, researchers see the way that the scientists and scholars have cooperated as a huge positive in the situation or in the pandemic situation. But a lot of scientists welcome the way the pandemic has already changed the way the community by the transitioning to a completely new culture of doing research and development. So as a researcher by heart, this will promote and introduce the new methods in conducting research like qualitative, quantitative, and mixed method research design locally or globally. So since the beginning of lockdown, research institutions has recorded an explosive growth of data during COVID-19 pandemic, which resulted to more than 19,250 publications, 250 datasets, and even 270 patents related to research. So these have fed into more than 200 policy documents. So finally, as a speaker and as a research advocate, I would also like to conclude that there's a big opportunity in research and development in this time of pandemic. So stay at home and do collaborative research that can be cited and published in a reputable journal, which can be indexed in the Directory of Open Access Journals, DOJ, Web of Science, Science Citation Index, and other higher impact factor for indexing databases. So that's all for now. So thank you and good afternoon. But before I end up, I would also like to uh, invite you guys to my have a journal that you can also publish into it. So if you have time, you can visit my journal. So my journal is about a multidisciplinary discipline. So if you're interested to publish your paper, it tackles more of the arts, business economics, current events in other areas which will be fitted. So this is a multidisciplinary journal. So I'm the editor-in-chief of this journal. So hopefully if you can submit your paper, the deadline is July 31, but the frequency of the journal is monthly. So I think that's all and thank you and good afternoon again.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for this presentation, and we hope the people will reach to you. With this two presentations, I would like to uh, conclude the session here for the first phase of our conference. So that is the keynote speeches. So I would like to thank Dr. Ishan and Dr. Frolin for joining us today and delivering their uh, keynote speeches. And also I would like to thank all the participants who have joined